Hey, what's going on, guys? Left-handed shooter. I know I had done the Budget Hunter series. I believe it was like fall time last year. Kind of started rolling through the videos, putting out a little bit of content on just kind of how to get into hunting on a budget. And you know, since then, time has gone on. The bow that I had or that I purchased, I still have, but since that time, I've gone ahead and actually made some pretty significant changes to it, and I still wanted to keep it on the same line as, you know, getting into archery on a budget. Well, this is just kind of going through some of the upgrades that I've done that are on a budget, and just kind of how you can keep everything within limit to keep it reasonable and still be able to go out and enjoy your bow and enjoy hunting with your bow. If you guys don't know, this is a bow from Cabela's that I purchased, I'm going to say close to 2 years. It was November of 2017 when I purchased it. It was Cabela's bow on clearance. Since I'm left-handed, obviously the show Left-Handed Shooter, or the channel Left-Handed Shooter, sorry. But it's a Cabela's bow made by Bowtech. So, you know, they have their off-brand bows selling out of Cabela's under the Cabela's brand name. But I paid $200 for this bow. Has all the specs that I need that suit me. I think it had, like, you know, 26 all the way up to like 30-inch draw, which I'm right at 28. And then the poundage was from like 55 or 50 all the way up to, I believe, 70 or 75. I don't remember what it was specifically. Actually, it'll tell me right here. Max draw weight of 70 pounds. So definitely, you know, a bow for me to grow into. But, you know, at a certain point, I started outgrowing the features that came with it. So this bow was a ready-to-hunt package that came with the quiver. It came with this Archery whisker biscuit that just has the three little spots for whiskers, so your veins can go through the open areas, as you guys can see there. It didn't come with this stabilizer. I'll be covering that in this video too. It came with some little 4.5, 5-inch little rubber stabilizer, which basically was just kind of dampening the vibration, and that's all it really did. And it definitely didn't come with this sight, so I'll be covering that on this video as well. But basically, I just want to go over some of the features that I've upgraded since I got the bow, and just kind of put it into perspective of what kind of a budget you can expect, and still be able to upgrade your bow to higher quality items, still have, you know, a really good bow, really good shooting bow with no issues. I mean, this thing is accurate. I shoot it regularly out to 40 yards, and I'm still pulling 1-inch groups out of a $200 Cabela's bow. So, you know, sometimes you don't have to go out and get that $1,500 bow and, you know, get it decked out with, you know, another $1,000 worth of gear. You could still do really well with a low budget bow. Another thing that I did want to cover is I have here off the side of the camera is the release. This is the release that I upgraded to, and I'll talk about that here in a sec. But basically, I just want to show you guys some of the upgrades that I've done so far and what I have planned for this bow over the next couple months. I have an archery, late season archery elk hunt here in Arizona. It's my first elk hunt ever. It's my first big game hunt. Well, technically it'll be the second, because I also got lucky enough to get drawn for late season deer rifle here in Arizona as well. So I'll be hunting mule deer in November, a week apart from my elk season with a bow. So I'm really excited for it, you know, but since I started preparing my bow to do other hunts, I've had to make some changes. And the first change I made is this True Glow. I think it's called the Carbon Hybrid Micro Sight. So it's a 5-pin sight. Let me see if I can see it right there, get a little bit of light. It's a 5-pin sight. I have it ranging from 20 all the way out to 60 yards. Super awesome sight, simply because this sight right here is ambidextrous. So you can buy it. It, you know, showed up in a right-handed configuration. I pulled up the YouTube video from True Glow that shows you how to switch it over to left-handed configuration. Went ahead and installed it. So I ran into an issue last year where, before I went to do my over-the-counter archery hunt for deer, in which my 60-yard pin was bottomed out, sitting on top of the bottom little bubble there, and I still wasn't hitting at 60 yards. I was hitting extremely low at 60, so I needed to bring the sight down more, which I couldn't. The housing and everything was bottomed out. It just wasn't working out. So what I ended up having to do is, if you guys can see the angle of this frame, it was inverted, so it actually had, so it came off the bow and actually had an angle upwards, and the housing was centered and everything, so everything was sitting slightly too high. So what I ended up doing is I ended up looking up if I could flip it, and you could. So I flipped it, set it up, re-zeroed from 20 all the way to 60, zero issues with it. I ran into a couple problems with this little micro adjust knob down here. Contacted TrueGlow. I don't know if you guys have seen my other video where I talk about it, but I contacted TrueGlow, told them, hey, I replaced the batteries on my light stopped working, it doesn't work properly, and these knobs are causing me a lot of problems. So within like 5 days, literally, I think I sent them an email on Friday. They responded, and by the following Friday, I had a package in my mailbox that had replacement knobs and 2 replacement lights for my sight, and they said, hey, we apologize for the inconvenience. This shouldn't be happening only 10 months into owning the sight. And I was like, sweet, awesome. So I'll be swapping that out and re-zeroing it from 20 all the way to 60, because I'll be making other changes to the bow. So that was the first thing I upgraded, was I switched this sight out. Second thing I did is, let me go ahead and set this down. So if you guys have seen my intro into budget hunting, I cover, just the kind of basics of what I purchased. And if you go into the description of this video, I'll be linking all the items that I upgraded on my bow and things that I changed. So the second item was this TrueFire release. This is the Smoke from TrueFire. The one that I had previously was the Patriot, and it didn't have an adjustable arm, and it didn't really have, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in it initially, but I built up confidence as I got better on the bow. But it just, the adjustability of the arm right here to get you that perfect trigger length, to where you're comfortable, to where you can actually, draw back, anchor where you want to every single time, be consistent with it, and not have to have your arm stretch forward to be able to reach the trigger, just finding that sweet spot on your anchoring point. So once I got that dialed in and tightened down, this thing has been phenomenal. The one thing I do like about it is it's, the little neoprene wrist wrap, super quiet, doesn't make any noise. And then my other release, the Patriot, didn't have a folding arm. This one has a folding arm, so when you're rocking the release, like so, when you're rocking the release, you can flip the arm out of the way and not have any problems with it. You can continue to do your regular movements. You can slide it down on your wrist a little bit. You can pull out your binos. The arm isn't smacking them. On the Patriot, I couldn't do that. On the Patriot, I actually had to physically turn it around and slide it down on my arm, or I would have to flip it onto the backside of my hand, but then I would have the arm smacking my hand every time I was doing anything. So this thing is super sweet, folds down. There's a lot of these floating around out there from TrueFire, from different manufacturers, but I enjoy this one. I think I paid like $35 on Amazon. So yeah, TrueFire Smoke. So that's the one thing that I upgraded after my sight, was getting a better release. But I still carry my Patriot. Common thing that we used to say in the Marine Corps, if you have one, you have none. If you have two, you have one. And basically what that means is when, crap hits the fan, your release breaks, or you forgot to bring it, because I know I forgot one day. I think I was going to the range, and I completely forgot my smoke. Luckily the case that has my bow, I had thrown my Patriot in there, who knows when. I completely forgot that it was in there, so I showed up to the range. I'm searching, couldn't find my smoke. I opened up the case and I found my Patriot in there, so I was like, well, I'm gonna have to do a range session with my Patriot just to get some arrows down range. But it's always beneficial to have it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not broken or anything. I still shoot with it occasionally just to still be familiar with the motions. It's not as comfortable, so when I draw back to get an anchor, on that one, because it doesn't have the adjustable arm, I have to kind of reach forward to reach that trigger. So it kind of does set me off a little bit. It takes me a little bit of time to get used to it again. But that was the second thing I upgraded. Next thing I went and changed was the stabilizer. Let me see if I can bring this in closer. So this is an 8-inch stabilizer. It's the Hunter Extreme stabilizer from Bee Stinger. So like I said, originally I had like a little 5-inch, 4.5, 5-inch, so it was like about right here. And it was just like the rubber. All it did was just kind of absorb the vibration that goes through the bow when you release an arrow. So I went ahead and shot with this at the beginning of the year because I was originally intending on doing an over-the-counter deer in January for the open season, and then I think I was considering doing javelina also. So I was like, hey, let me get my bow ready. Both of those went out the window because of school, so unfortunately I didn't get to do either of those. But I purchased this, shot with it at the range shortly after I put it on, and it's a world of difference. I didn't want to go with the 10-inch because I do like to keep it compact. I'm not really going for the Olympics in archery, so I wanted to keep it compact and keep it still reasonable to what my shooting distances are. So you guys can do a lot of research on the different types of stabilizers and what they do. This one's got a little bit of weight on the front end, so when I draw back, it kind of balances in my hand to keep it from rocking too far back. Or if I have my quiver on here, it just kind of helps keep the overall balance of the bow. So that was the third thing that I upgraded on this bow. Next two things that I have in line is going to be replacing this little cheap lanyard looking wrist brace, or wrist sling I should say. So I'm going to get something a little bit different, not sure what I'm going to get yet. And then as you guys can see, this old dated whisker biscuit looking arrow rest that's just kind of beat to crap. You guys can't see it too well in the video, but those little things are beat to crap. I don't know how many arrows I've put through this bow already in the last year and a half, 2 years that I've owned it. So I'll be replacing that with the QAD Hunter rest, obviously left-handed, so that'll be dependent on the draw. So it'll be a drop away rest versus a whisker biscuit, which is a full containment. Although these rests do have full containment also, and they have the little velvet you can tie on the branches of the arrow rest. But I'll be getting that installed once I get it. The quiver is going to stay the same. It fits perfectly with my bow. I don't have it attached right now. It just hangs in my gear room. But yeah, so those are the next two things that I'll be covering or upgrading on this bow. Eventually, maybe down the line, I'll get a different bow. But for now, this thing is doing everything that I want it to do. I'm consistent at 40 and 50 yards. 60 not so much. Like I said, I had problems with the sight previously, and I didn't get to spend enough time at the range to get my 60 pin dialed in to where I wanted it. But again, I'll go ahead and link the description, or not the description, the link to the items that I've already upgraded, and I'll also throw in the links to the items that I will be upgrading for the bow in the description of the video. But I just want to let you guys know, you could still get a budget bow, make some significant upgrades, and still keep it affordable and still be able to do what you want to do. I think after those two items get upgraded, the other thing I'm working on is getting a set of arrows specifically for elk season, or specifically for elk, I should say, not just the season, but just specifically for elk. The arrows that I shoot now are in the high 300s. They just don't have enough weight behind them. I'm going more for kinetic energy as opposed to speed, just because I want that, that punching power to be able to get through the elk. So what I'm looking at doing is going from about mid to high 300 arrows, closer to about 500, if not over 500. I'll be shooting heavier broadheads, shifting my front of center weight on the arrow to get a little bit more kick behind it on the nose. So I'll probably be doing a video once I do that. Currently, if you guys haven't already seen, I shoot Easton Bloodlines. They're, I believe, 6mm arrows. I'll be going down to a 5mm from Easton, but it just has more grains per inch as opposed to the Bloodlines. Also, I'm kind of in between spines on my arrows, so I'll be making that determination based off my draw weight if I need to change spines or stick to what spine I'm using now. but just go with the heavier grain arrow. But if you guys have any questions or comments or anything about my setup and the way I'm taking the setup or any of the items on here, I don't want to do individual reviews. I'm just kind of covering it all in this video. This sight has been phenomenal. True Glow came through in the clutch when I was like, hey, I'm having problems. So that was super awesome. I'm looking forward to upgrading this arrow sight, or not arrow sight, arrow rest, and just kind of replacing the sling for something a little bit better and sturdier. But again, you can get into the sport on a budget. I spent $200 initially. I think the sight was like 65 bucks. The stabilizer was about 60 also. So that's about another 120. The arrow rest is going to be about another 60 bucks, I believe. So all in all, I think I've kept my entire archery budget with bow, arrows, releases, and all these upgraded parts. I think I've still kept it under 500 bucks. So it may seem like a lot, but all of this has been over the span of 2 years. So don't think that you need to go out and get the best brand spanking new bow out there. You can go with something a little bit smaller or a little bit more budget friendly and still get quality results. So that's all I got for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And like I said, I'll be posting the links below for these items. All right, that's all I got for you guys.